December 11th, 2024, Episode 57 WHEJAC Virtual Public Meeting 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time December 17th, 2024. In Episode 57 BA1A1 register for WHEJAC public meeting and public comment if you would wish. https://uspah.zoomgov.com/webinar/register/wn_schway UCLTY stan 4FUF0I4 RNW1A2 United States. CEQ Environmental Justice Connector. 1B United States. White House Summit on Environmental Justice this summer. Watch video at https://www.youtube.com/live/4OEZ-XY-UAPW?SI=sign0U8L6B4BMZEU_059 1C United States. December 12, 2024. Today, President Biden announced that he is granting clemency to nearly 1,500 Americans. 1D Biden has a pair of gifts for Trump. December 12, 2024. 3 dice with illustrations on the faces representing Israel, Ukraine, Syria, Iran, and Russia. 1E United States. Substack. Heather Cox Richardson. December 12, 2024. Yesterday, President Joe Biden spoke at the Brookings Institution, where he gave a major speech on the American economy. Main content. 1A1 United States. Public meeting. Please register to speak or attend. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The White House Environmental Justice Advisory Council, WHEJAC, is a virtual public meeting Tuesday, December 17th from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This meeting is free and open to all members of the public. Individual registration is required and is open throughout the duration of the meeting. The WHEJAC will be receiving public comment from approximately 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Members of the public who wish to participate in the public comment period must register by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, Friday, December 13th. Register here, https://uspah.zoomgov.com/webinar/register/wn_schway UCLTY stan 4FUF0I4 RNW. The public can submit written comments by visiting http://www.regulations.gov and opening docket ID No. EPA HQ WHEJAC 2024-0147 by emailing comments to WHEJAC@epa.gov or using this web form. The WHEJAC will accept written comments through Tuesday, December 31st. 1B United States. White House Summit on Environmental Justice this summer. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Watch video at https://www.youtube.com/live/4OEZ-XY-UAPW?SI=sign0U8L6B4BMZEU_059 for more on how the Biden-Harris administration's environmental justice agenda is delivering for communities. Visit environmentaljustice.gov. 1C United States. December 12, 2024. Today, President Biden announced that he is granting clemency to nearly 1,500 Americans. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The most ever in a single day who have shown successful rehabilitation and a strong commitment to making their community safer. The president is commuting the sentences of 1,493 individuals who were placed on home confinement during the COVID-19 pandemic and who have successfully reintegrated into their families and communities. He is also pardoning 39 individuals who were convicted of nonviolent crimes. These actions represent the largest single-day grant of clemency in modern history. 1D Biden has a pair of gifts for Trump. December 12, 2024. 3 dice with illustrations on the faces representing Israel, Ukraine, Syria, Iran, and Russia. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Donald Trump is a lucky man. The combination of Allied courage and American support has inflicted serious losses on America's enemies and created a series of strategic openings for the United States. The Iranian axis of resistance is in a state of collapse. Russia is facing an economic crisis and is chewing through men and material in Ukraine at an unsustainable rate. In the same way that Trump inherited a growing economy and a weakened enemy in 2017 after taking over the war against ISIS from Barack Obama well after it had begun, he's inheriting a growing economy and weakened enemies in 2025. But with shooting wars underway on multiple fronts, the world is also far more dangerous than it was in 2017. Throwing Vladimir Putin a lifeline in Ukraine now would undermine American strategic interests across the world. Ukraine's problems are obvious. It's losing ground, it faces a grave manpower shortage, and with the advent of a second Trump administration, continued American support is in doubt. But Russia is hardly ascendant. Russian losses are immense. Russia is spending down its cash reserves. It's losing 35,000 to 45,000 men per month to death or serious injury. It's also losing around 100 tanks per month. Russia cannot continue to fight at its present pace indefinitely. Its losses will reach a critical level. The Ukrainian and Israeli militaries deserve the bulk of the credit. They've demonstrated extreme courage and competence at the tip of the spear, but both forces have relied on American support. The outcome of the combat is clear, even if the legality of Israel's operations in Gaza is obscured by the fog of war. And, crucially, the fighting in Ukraine helped weaken Syria. This was perhaps the most surprising aspect of my conversations about the present situation. Taking the Wagner Group off the chessboard, the Wagner Group was the mercenary army that Putin deployed in the Middle East and North Africa to bolster local allies and advance Russian interests. But when Putin invaded Ukraine, Wagner focused its efforts on taking a city called Bakhmut. Wagner eventually took the city, but it suffered extraordinary casualties. Wagner then revolted against Putin. It seized the city of Rostov-on-Don, and its founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin, dispatched an armored column toward Moscow. The rebellion failed. Prigozhin was killed 2 months later in a plane crash. The Wagner Group was dismantled and its functions were dispersed across the Russian state. Hezbollah's demise at the hands of Israel, combined with Wagner's demise at the hands of Ukraine, meant that al-Assad was vulnerable. The situation in Syria is almost impossibly complex. The leading rebel group, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, is a terror organization that was formerly directly affiliated with al-Qaeda. Its leader, Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani, has broken ranks with al-Qaeda, and he's trying to reinvent himself as a more mainstream political leader. He's also signaling that his quarrels are with Iran and Hezbollah, not Israel. The IDF, however, is taking no chances. It has launched a comprehensive bombing campaign to deprive the new Syrian government of the capacity to threaten Israel. The problems in Syria are legion. It's not in our national interest for a jihadist organization to control Syria. There is still an ISIS problem in parts of the Syrian countryside. Our Kurdish allies are vulnerable to Turkey in the north, and to add to the complexities, America still has hundreds of troops stationed in the country. America has gained strategic advantage by doubling down on its support for key allies. Absent American backing for Ukraine, Russia would almost certainly already have been victorious in Ukraine. Israel has a robust independent military capability, but it also depends on U.S. military equipment, and it relied on direct American help to defend against Iranian missiles. Our national interest requires the United States to continue to lean into our alliances, but Trump has a lean-out approach to foreign policy and has said he will nominate people for his national security team who seem to be far more invested in fighting political enemies at home rather than opposing enemies abroad. Pete Hegseth, Trump's pick to be Secretary of Defense. He is more concerned about domestic enemies than foreign ones, and he is willing to break rules to defeat them, even the rules his potential job requires him to uphold. Tulsi Gabbard, Trump's selection for Director of National Intelligence, defended al-Assad, and she has long expressed what the Associated Press politely called sympathetic views toward Putin's Russia. The foreign policies of the Biden and Trump administrations may end up as inverse versions of each other. Biden has been directionally correct in his support of allies, but he's also been too timid. Too slow, for example, to supply Ukraine with advanced weapons and too slow to grant Ukraine freedom of action to use them in Russia. He's been right to deploy ships and planes to protect shipping in the Red Sea and defend Israel from Iranian missile attacks. Whereas Biden is directionally correct but too timid, Trump is directionally wrong in his isolationism but still occasionally capable of bold and decisive action. His son Donald Jr. and closest allies mock Ukraine. Trump is far more self-interested than he is ideological, and an American retreat in Syria, or the sight of Russian troops marching in Kiev, or an Iranian nuclear bomb would all be deeply humiliating to him. They would signal American weakness, which would signal Trump's weakness. Trump's vanity may save us from Trump's isolationism, but vanity is a poor proxy for a coherent national security strategy. Trump is a fortunate man. He's inheriting the conditions for profound foreign policy success, but he's also inheriting the possibility of failure, and the troubling reality is that his instincts are wrong, his national security picks are flawed, and he may well snatch a series of terrible defeats from the jaws of extraordinary military and diplomatic success. One a United States. Substack. Heather Cox Richardson. December 12, 2024. Yesterday, President Joe Biden spoke at the Brookings Institution, where he gave a major speech on the American economy. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. He contrasted his approach with the supply-side economics of the 40 years before he took office, an approach the incoming administration of Donald Trump has said he would reinstate. Biden urged Trump and his team not to destroy the seeds of growth planted over the past 4 years, and he laid out the extraordinary successes of his administration as a benchmark going forward. The president noted that Trump is inheriting a strong economy. Biden shifted the U.S. economy from 40 years of supply-side economics that had transferred about $50 trillion from the bottom 90% to the top 1% and hollowed out the middle class. Biden called out that in the 2 years since Congress passed the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS and Science Act, the private sector has jumped on the public investments to invest more than $1 trillion in clean energy and advanced manufacturing. Disruptions from the pandemic, especially the snarling of supply chains, and Russian President Vladimir Putin's attack on Ukraine created a global spike in inflation. The administration brought those rates back to around the Fed's target of 2%. 80% of working-age Americans have jobs, and the average after-tax income is up almost $4,000 since before the pandemic, significantly outpacing inflation. Biden gave yesterday's speech in part to put down benchmarks against which we should measure Trump's economic policies. During my presidency, we created 16 million new jobs in America and saw the lowest average unemployment rate of any administration in 50 years. Economic growth has been a strong 3% on average, and inflation is near 2%, he said. These are simple, well-established economic benchmarks used to measure the strength of any economy, the success or failure of any president's 4 years in office. They're not political, rhetorical opinions. They're just facts, Biden said, simple facts. As President Reagan called them, stubborn facts. Biden is willing to bet that if the American people pay attention to those facts, they will recognize that his approach to the economy, rather than supply-side economics, works best for everyone. Today the NASDAQ Composite Index, which focuses on tech stocks, broke 20,000 for the first time.